Hey everyone, Insomnia from UnrealTek.net. Welcome to another video in learning the details of Unreal Engine 4. Today we're going to look at Sequencer, the new system to make cinematics in real time, non-destructible using Unreal Engine 4. Sequencer I had to learn on the fly very fast, and so I looked on YouTube for videos to try to learn it, and there's not very much out there. There is one good video of this one, UE4 Sequencer Basics by Pub Games. You can get the link here and search for it, and he uses the vehicle game as a template to create camera cuts over a whole thing, and it's a decent video. I like it and I learned from it and I've expanded my skills from it, and so we are gonna follow that, but we're gonna condense it a little bit more into just a single quick cinematic scene, and we're gonna add more details. So I suggest maybe you follow his video first. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and I'm going to create a project based on vehicle game. It's going to be called vehicle game 2 because I already had one, and it's going to install it. So let that vehicle game install, download if you haven't already, and we'll use it. And we're going to do a sequence over the jump section of the track. Nice and short and quick and fast paced. And so remember our motto, create your way, and let's get started. So I'm going to make sure first of all that I have the stock layout set up just in case, and we're going to want to open two new tabs they created. That is the sequencer tab and the sequence recorder tab. So the sequence recorder tab, that one we can dock next to details under the world outliner, and sequencer we can put beside the content browser, because the sequencer has a track view where you put keyframes in and you want it to be as wide as possible. It doesn't need to be tall. Let's go ahead and play the game from stock, and let's get to the jump sequence, and then we'll record from there. So let's hit play and get there. So what I've decided is, what I want to do is take the player starts, and I want to move them over to this position. So I'm just going to delete all of them actually, and that way we can start right from this position in case we screw things up. So we're going to drag a player start right in here. Now in case you haven't already, again, go to cinematics and add a level sequence, and make sure you save some sort of level sequence. This is our jumping sequence, and that will bring up the sequencer window, and hit save. So that'll bring up the sequencer window. Then in the sequence recorder, we want to add a sequence. Stock settings are totally fine, and select it. And you'll notice now under actor recording, it asks what actor do you want to record. Well, we're not playing yet, so we don't really have the buggy. Well, we don't have the buggy to record, as you can see. We want to record the buggy. So to record the buggy, which has a nice set straight camera in this game, which is nice. I could see why Pack Games selected this. So we want to hit play. Now we're gonna hit Shift F1 and pause. So now that we have the player controller and the buggy in the game, we want to select that actor to record. So this is what actor it's gonna focus on recording. So anything that this actor transforms, any particle effects that this actor emits, like the dirt, any decals like the tire tracks, it's going to record all of these into a folder for us in our sequencer tab. So what we want to do is search for buggy. So VH buggy, the pawn. And now that's set up. So now we can resume our game. Now we can hit record, and it's going to record our buggy. So let's hit record, and let's do the entire jump as soon as the countdown stops. Well, we'll work with that. Obviously, I'm not going to make this jump today. So we'll hit escape, and that will finish the sequence, and we can open it. You'll see it open in the bottom right, and this brings this mesh folder. And under this mesh folder, you have the buggy and world settings, and under the buggy, you have the vehicle mesh and particle systems it's creating and all sorts of things. We'll just collapse all these down. We're not going to use any of them, but we'll just collapse them down so we can see. All these little tiny things in here are keyframes, so that's things that's recorded. If you hit the plus button with this in focus, you can zoom in. You can see between 40 and 50 frames. It recorded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up 9 or 10 keyframes. So a ton of keyframes, and our total length, if we zoom all the way out, is a hair over 400 frames. So that's perfect. That's a nice thing to work with. So I'm going to zoom in to the beginning here, and what we can do, beside anything that has a camera, there'll be this little camera icon. If you hover over it, it says lock, and that'll be the camera name or pawn name with the camera to selected viewport. And if we do that, it'll show us this preview window here as the viewport, and we're locked to it. So if we scrub the timeline by dragging this slider, it will play us through the entire timeline. Or if we hit space or play, it will play it, and so we can see our sequence in the whole. So maybe we'll get a good crash going in there, maybe some particle systems or whatever. That's our whole sequence. These settings here is where your range starts, so we can set the range to 0 and 0, and it looks like it goes to 462, or it looks like it goes to about like 405, so maybe we'll go like 415, 415. Maybe we'll look at the whole thing at once, just fit it right in there, nice and even. So that's just your working range, how much you can see and how much there is. Now, when you're locked to a camera, if you go back to -1, you'll see this turns red. That just means that it's unlocked. All you need to go is back to frame 0 or in between from where the red line is, that's the end, to, if we scrub this back a little bit, to the green line. You'll see view, well, you can see the green just barely there. That's your start, and the red is the end. And you can drag these to change the length. They're fairly unintuitive, and some things don't work great, but once you try it out and follow a video, it's very fun, it's very easy. We are locked to the buggy again once we hit that button and it's highlighted, but we don't want to use that camera. What we want to do is we want to create a new camera and set it as the current camera cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick the part we want to start from. So let's scrub the timeline with the buggy camera lock so that we know exactly where we're starting from. Now let's start from right where we come into this box, right before the jump. So about right here. So let's go frame 150 just for ease sake. So we're gonna either drag this green line over to 150. It's a lot easier if you have snapping enabled. You'll see without snapping, it's smooth, but it's not snapping to anything. But with snapping enabled, it goes right to a frame. Bang on. We're right at 150. Now we can change the working range to say 140. We'll give a little bit of room on each side, to 415 maybe again. So that's our working range. So we are going to create a new camera, and it'll create it right wherever this camera is in the viewport. And then it will set it as the current camera cut. And you can add a camera cut track, and you can add a camera from Cine Camera right there. This will do it automatically. So hit that create a new camera button, and you'll see we now get a new camera view, and it looks very weird. Now, to find this camera in the world, make sure you're unlocked from the viewport and go back and select this new Cine Camera actor. And if you create more than one, it'll have numbers. You see this Cine Camera actor 1, and you'll see the buggy is back in mesh. So we're just gonna collapse the mesh folder. We can even drag Cine Camera actor above so it's first, I think. Maybe they haven't, yeah, I guess they put folders first. It's not a totally polished system, but if you select it, you can see where it is in the world. So it's right here. So if I move it, I can animate it normally, and you can see the preview moving, and this is the buggy's camera. This is where it starts in the world, so let's drag it back so that we can see the buggy. Or what you can do, and what we're going to use, is hit the lock Cine Camera actor 1 to selected viewport. So lock the camera actor, the cinematic camera actor you created, and that'll show the camera viewport that you've got. And what you can do is you can use the regular right click plus WAS to move around in the world, and also E and J, or I believe page up and down, yeah, to move, as well as the arrow keys. So the arrow keys and page up and down, or WAS and D and J and E. Let's pick a nice starting point, somewhere back behind it. We'll do a chase cam, we'll do a side cam, and maybe we'll do a jump cam. So let's do something nice and quick and easy. So what we need to do, we can forget about sequence recorder for now. Let's go to the details tab. You'll see when we select Cine Camera actor, it gives us a bunch of cool options. You can set the focus distance. So if I expand this, I can set the focus distance. So if I set the focus distance to 1, you'll see in the preview it's all out of focus, and you can drag this because this is in real time, and you can set the focus. And it's now reset my my transform. Let's maybe set the focus to 2500. So that'll maybe even like 1500. That'll blur out things in the foreground, but things fairly close, so like 15 meters away, will be visible. Maybe 2500 is better, about half of default. So again, just right click and use the arrow or the WAS and D or arrow keys and J and E or page up and down to get a nice camera shot you want. make sure you have Cine Camera Actor selected. Go to this little, I don't know what you want to call it, but the little 4-way square deal, the auto keying, and change it to auto key animate. Now auto key all, what that does is it records just like the sequence recorder. It records every change you do. So if you change the camera even a touch, it's going to record that. But we want to auto key animate, and what that does is when you hit enter, it will key everything that has changed only at the frame you've selected. So let's go auto key animated, and then make sure Cine Camera Actor is selected. Hit enter. You notice these red dots change. So we've got one for the focal length, the aperture, the focus distance, so on and so forth. So if we went ahead to frame 165 and set the focus distance to 1, you can now scrub back and you'll see the focus change. And if you play, now it's a fast focus change, but if you hit play, the focus changes. And you can go to the graph editor and you can even see that in a graph if you really wanted to. You can see the graph right there. It goes from a value of 2500 to 0 in 5.5 seconds. So the point editor, the graph editor is in seconds, and not the curve editor, I guess the keyframe editor is in frames. But I'm going to delete that one. That's just an example of how you can edit all these specific values. So we have the spawned key, which is green all the way through. We want it to be spawned in. We don't want it to have to be manually put in. We have transform, and if we expand that, you can see we have location, rotation, and scale. And on each of those, we have X, Y, and Z. So you could manually key these, but we're automatically keying them. And of course, our focal length, our focus distance, and our aperture. And again, whenever it's red, that just means it's unlocked. So all you need to do is make sure you're at the starting frame or sooner, and then lock to viewport. And then you can go ahead and move around. So we have our first one. So again, make sure it's selected. And if we select the camera component, you can choose the film settings. You can choose all sorts of cool things. So you can choose like IMAX, the really tall 70mm shot. And you can choose a custom zoom, like you can choose a 200mm zoom, like a really zoomed in zoom. You can get all sorts of cool things. But I'm just going to reset it to default. I'm actually going to use 16:9 digital film. I like the look of that. Or 16:9 film is a little bit less zoomed out. And so that's our first frame right there. And then we're going to move forward in the scene. So let's go right before the jump. And again, as long as you are locked to the viewport and that's highlighted, you can go ahead and move around this. Let's see if we can't get less zoomed in, maybe a 30 or 50mm. And just to ensure that looks okay on our first frame, let's go to our first frame. Yes, that's perfect. So 150, just like that. Then we're going to go here to right before the jump. So yeah, let's go 200 just to keep it easy. Now it auto created those frame or those keyframes, so I'm just going to select them by marquee selecting. Let's click and drag with the left mouse button, hit the delete key, that'll get rid of them. So what I'm going to do is at frame 200, I'm going to move the camera, actually put this back up to about like 4 or 5. I'm going to move, 4 works good. I'm going to move here using the scroll wheel to change the camera speed, and I'm going to do the chase cam. So this is going to be our chase cam track. So I'm going to go right behind it, go nice and low, a nice action-packed scene. I'm going to make sure that it's in frame, and I'm going to hit enter. Got this set up, and all that is your transform. So if you can delete it if it's getting in your way, but you can leave it if whenever you let go of the right mouse button, it will put it there. But that's okay as long as you're in the rough area you want the shot. Just hit enter and it will set all the keyframes with the Cine Camera Actor selected. You'll see all the transforms are set again. So now if we scrub the timeline, you can see exactly what our camera sees as long as you're locked in. If you lose the lock by going back or ahead, then you just see the actors moving. And again, you can switch that at any time as long as you are in the green range, the green to red, by hitting the lock button. If you just want to see it from an outside view, you can do that too, as long as you're unlocked, and you can scrub through it. And the yellow line is a camera track or an actor track that you're manually, that's keyframing. So each one of these little dots is a keyframe, just like the spline editor. So we're going to lock back again, and you can hit G to go into game mode, of course, with the viewport selected. So I find that can help too. So let's scrub, oops, set this back to 150, very starting frame. So we're going to scrub ahead. You can click anywhere in the time frame to scrub. So let's scrub. So we've got our camera set up. It zooms into it a little bit. It's jumping. So let's go right into the right before it starts to lose altitude, I guess, and let's maybe look up on it a little bit, but still the chase cam. Hit enter with the cine camera selected. Let's go to, let's say around 2. Let's go to just before it hits. Enter. And when you see those show up, you know it's good. Otherwise, you have to select Cine Camera Actor. So you can open the transform to help you make sure. But as long as you scrub and as long as you don't click in the viewport with the left mouse button, just use the right mouse button and arrow keys to move, then you shouldn't lose focus. And then let's maybe go a bit back and we'll go behind it. We'll just continue to do like a chase cam. Now this is going to animate the entire camera turn. We're going to hit enter and it adds those keys. Then maybe we'll go back again. We'll spin around. This is going to be a very fast spin, I'll admit. We'll get as low to the ground as we can. Enter. And then the very end. We'll go somewhere around the end anyway. And then enter. So we can scrub all the way through it. And let's just fix up the layers in this track. So let's just hit space to play and let's see how it looks. I will be able to replace shots with other cameras, so I'm going to call that good enough. Now, if you do find that drawing a shot, like for example, between this one and this one is fine, but between this one and this one, our little turn, it's okay, but this spin around goes way off. So what you can do is you can go, when it goes off in between, you can move to where it's in focus, and then you can set keyframes again. You can also drag and select the keyframes, and you can go to right click on them maybe, yes, and then you can choose a different interpolation. So linear is just straight from value 1 to value 2, cubic is ease in and ease out, and constant is just boom to boom, and so on and so forth. So I'm sure you've used those before in different keyframes, so you'll see now it should stay in the frame a lot better. And now our other keyframes even working well. Maybe we'll fix this one. We'll just rotate the camera, drag it back a bit, just get a different little view. It's going to do a lot of spinning, but we'll probably replace it with another view. We'll go back here, we'll just turn the camera again. We'll just keyframe this all in just so it's visible. In here it's messed up our view again, so we'll go put it back in view. This is very fast things. This is gonna play back kinda ridiculously. Maybe I'll delete these and I'll use the setup we have so far. We'll just go back to here, so that's gonna look okay. Turning around, so I'm gonna delete the last ones. So it ends, it pretty much crashes right there, so maybe I'll go to the end. So when you pass a keyframe, it's gonna stop the camera right for that keyframe was, so you know for reference where it was. So I'll go to say frame 400, I'll maybe zoom out and up, and then hit enter. That way we have a nice little pass up. Now we lose it in here, so we'll just drag it in with the right mouse button and we'll keyframe it in. So we lose it for a second. You can see it does that kind of glitch there because it really changes transform quickly. I accidentally put 2 keyframes in there. I'm going to delete that one set. So there, that's nice and smooth now. And then we get that kind of fly up. So that's camera track 1. I'm going to call that good enough. It's not, I'm not going to spend all day. So I'm going to collapse that one down. What we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the starting frame. So we can use this in the arrow keys to go back to 150. And under the camera cuts, we're going to hit plus camera, or you can just hit create a new camera and set as the current camera cut, which makes it easier. So let's just do that. We can rename these 2. So we can call this one chase cam. You just use your regular double click renaming. And this one is going to be side cam. And so let's animate this one. So let's make sure our viewport's locked to it. And let's set our first frame by using the right mouse button and arrow keys to get our view. And we'll enter to put our first keyframe in. And then we'll move forward, and we know where the jump is, right on about frame 200. So we're gonna go right beside it here, and we'll just keep keyframing values in. So I'm gonna do this for the entire jump. This will be a cool one. It'll pass the little foliage and stuff. So select side cam, enter. So again, just go back to about frame 150. Make sure you're locked to this camera's viewport. Hit space or play, and we can watch this cut. So that actually worked out great. A nice view of it the whole way, and then it should zoom right into the driver. I love that. We'll use that for as much of our cut as possible. We can watch our chase cam one. I should turn real time off. So we can go back to about frame 150. We can hit space with that one locked, and we get our chase cam. This one spins around, but it still follows it decently. So how do we cut in between cameras? This is what got me at first. So what we need to do is in our camera cuts, if we select that, lock to the camera cut viewport. So now you can see that the current track, it's hard to read, but it's Cine Camera Actor 21, which is the second one. If we select it, we can see the original name up here, and we can even rename it in the details panel. This is side cam. And now when we hover over it, it should say side cam, lock to side cam. And if we go to chase cam, let's call that one chase, whoops. Let's call that one chase cam so you don't get confused between 1 and 21. Ah, darn, I keep doing that. Chase cam and camera cuts. So we want to lock to camera cuts viewport, and that will be whatever camera you have active. So it happened to be side cam when it generated it. You can read it at the beginning there. So it is side cam all the way from beginning to end, as you can see. So I want to start with the chase cam. So to do that, all you do is right click and choose the camera you want. So I'm going to choose chase cam. You'll see it's replaced the entire camera cuts track with chase cam. So I want to use the chase cam all the way up. So I'm just going to scrub right, I don't know, just for a few seconds, maybe to 175. And then what you do is with the camera cut selected, right click, and then you want to go to edit and split. And you'll see we now have the ability to select both splits. If you've used video editing software, this is very natural. So we have the splits, and we have chase cam on both of them. But what we can do is on the second side, we can now right click and switch to side cam. So now if we scrub over it, you'll see it'll switch, instant switch. Now that's kind of annoying, but let's watch it. It should be pretty nice looking, pretty cool. So let's just do a couple quick splits. So we'll do the side cam right up to the past the tree, maybe past this thing. And then right as we get into the jump, let's do another split. Right click, edit. I wish there was hotkeys. Split, and then we're gonna right click on that track, and we're gonna go back to chase cam. So you'll see if we hit play, it'll go from chase cam, side cam, chase cam, jump, and then maybe right here again we'll split because that one goes kind of crazy. So we'll just edit, split, and then we'll right click on the last cut and go to side cam. We'll play, we'll let it do its thing, and then it'll zoom right into the driver. Cool, so we have a nice little camera cut. So I hate the abrupt changes. So what I want to do is I want to go to the add button in the sequencer, and I want to add a fade track. So this one's very easy to use. It's just a fade value, and you can play with it at any time from 0 to 1. So 0 is totally transparent, I guess. 1 is totally opaque. And to keyframe it, you can select it and hit enter, or you can just hit the regular add new key at the current time button, the little circle in the center. Or you can add it to the next frame or previous, or sorry, this switches between keys, but that's a good button to get used to for manual keying for specific dedicated cinematics. But what we're going to want to do is a little bit before the cut, we're going to want to start it at 0. So hit the key or select it and enter. Then we're going to want to go to right where the cut is. So if we use the arrow keys, that is right on frame 175. You can switch back and forth. So 175, we want to type the value into 1, and then when we hit enter, it'll automatically key it. And then we want to go into the side cam a little bit and change it to 0, and then key it, and it'll automatically key you. See, it does a very quick cut. Now if we hit play, that's going to look a lot nicer. So you see it cuts. So let's do a quick cut on each one. So again, I'm just gonna go 0, key. In fact, I'm gonna do all the zeros at once. So I'm just gonna go before and after each one, and I'm just gonna key all the zeros in before and after each cut. Boom, 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 like that. Then I'm gonna go to each specific cut right as it changes. I'm gonna type in 1, enter to add the key. Go to the other cut. So that's 218, yep. 1, enter. You don't have to choose 1. You can choose, say, like 0.825, enter, and that won't be a total cut. That's pretty abrupt though. That one, maybe this one would be better as a 0.75, enter. And then this one, you can you can right click, snap to, no, there's a certain way to get right to it. I believe, yeah, these next and back frames. There is a hotkey. I don't know it though. I'm sure there is. They need hotkeys either way. So I want to set this one back to 1 since that's such an abrupt change. So just hit enter to rekey that. So now we have these nice cuts, and let's do a final fade to black at the end. So right after we get into the driver, just for bonus, now this is, you can see the side cam. Let's go to side cam. Let's do the focus. Let's key in 10,000, enter. And then at the end, let's select this key. We'll go there just so that we don't accidentally key anything. So frame 403 is the end. And let's change the focus down to like near nothing. Or basically nothing. And then enter. So that'll set the focus very quickly. Maybe somewhere right in the middle here we'll actually go to nearly that low focus, just so that effect is there, that it sets the focus quickly and then totally fade. We can even take that key and just drag it around and it'll move the key. That's a pretty handy feature for when you need to move something just a few frames or entirely all over. So I like that. And then what we want to do is right when it focuses out, we want to start our fade out maybe around 387. So we'll go back to fade. We'll type in 0. We'll do our initial 0 keyframe. And then we'll go into here. We'll go maybe 0.25. Actually, maybe we'll go like 0.667. And then 403, I believe, was the end. Yep. We'll do that as a full 1. Perfect. So we can go back to the beginning now. We can hit the minus key to zoom out again. I'm sure there's keys to fit this all into the frame. But anyways, so we can go back to the beginning and we can hit play or pause with it locked to the camera cuts track, and then we can get our final result with the camera cuts and the fades. Now let's quickly add some audio. So let's add an audio track, and you'll see it says audio. And so what we want to do, let's just add some music. So let's plus audio. Let's go music and vehicle race. We'll just play that the whole way through. So if you hit play, you will hear it obviously. So I'm going to turn that volume down, I believe. No, there's no way to do that. We can go to properties though, and you get all sorts of properties. You can do this for anything. Everything has certain properties. Some have more properties than other, but you just right click on it and go to properties. I'm going to set the audio volume to 0.125 just so that it doesn't kill you guys on the mic. It's still quite loud, so I'm going to just turn my volume down. So what I want to do is maybe add some, I want to show you how this track works. So I'm going to go plus audio right at the beginning, and I'm going to go engine. I'm going to go engine 1 loop, and you'll see that lasts pretty much the whole thing. So we'll let it play out right to where it jumps, and then I'm going to cut that. So I'm just going to drag on it, and it'll cut the track, or it'll cut the audio track right down. I'm going to hit plus audio. I'm going to search for jump. There's a jump loop. So engine jump 01. I'm going to do that for the entire jump. So, and then right here, let's go add a track, and there should be crash or collide or something. Let's go explosion car destruction 1, sure, why not? And let's add another one, something like a impact obstacle, generic, 01, sure, why not? And then we'll have music, or and then it falls, I guess, again. So right when it falls, right when that tire hits, let's do another one. Let's go audio plus, and let's go impact land generic 02. I don't know, I'm just totally randomly picking. This is where having a little bit taller can be nice. So having specific audio can help, but yeah, maybe we'll have the engine stop. Maybe we'll add one more engine cue right as the engine stops about right here. So we'll add a audio track, engine modal, we'll say 3. And we'll cut that off right when he hits the ground, like so. So right before the end. And that'll just be music for the rest of it. So I'm just gonna hit the minus key to zoom out so I can see the end of that. And it'll snap automatically. As long as you have the snapping on, it'll snap automatically to your cursor, to the ends, to other frames, wherever your cursor is, it will snap, just like video editing software. So we got some sounds. So let's play that and check it out. Make this back to a nice size. Hit space or play. So now we have sound. Vroom, crash, crash, and music. Perfect. Okay, cool. So let's look at something else. Subscene and level visibility, that's quite advanced, but event track is one that's very cool and easy to use. So let's add an event track. I'm gonna hit the plus key to get us back in here. So let's find our event track. There it is, event. And let's go ahead and right when we collide, right when we collide, when it goes to that cut in the events track, all you have to do is right click and it'll go right where the cursor is and hit enter actually, and it will add an event with it selected. And then if you right click on that key and go to properties, you can choose the event. So I'm just gonna call this seek _ boom, and then I'm going to copy that so I don't screw it up. I'm going to go into the level blueprint and I'm going to create a custom event called seek boom, which is going to spawn, or sorry, what we're going to do, I'm going to dock that. I'm going to add, so I'm going to go to my content browser. I'm going to filter by particle system, and I'm going to take this explosion and I'm going to drag it into the level right there, and I'm going to set this to not auto activate, so auto activate false, and then I'm going to make sure I have particle explosion selected, and then in here in our level builder, I'm going to right click, I'm going to get a reference to it, and then I'm going to set activate. So I'm going to set toggle active. There should be an activate. There we go, activate particle system component. So we want to set it to activate, and that should play right when that event comes, as long as we named it properly. Now it will only play if you're playing the cinematic in your level sequence. There's ways around that, but that's a bit more advanced. You'll see if we play it, it should not play. So yeah, you'll see it didn't play. If we set it to auto activate, I don't believe it plays either. No, that only plays when you're actually playing, and there's no way to drag it into a timeline as far as I've learned so far. So without getting into doing different tracks and overlaying them, the easiest way to get that to play is to take your sequence. We'll save it first, so save the current level sequence, whatever we called it. So it's recorded sequence 2. So what we need to do is make sure that's in the level, just drag it in. Now when we hit play, if we take recorded sequence 2 and go to details and hit autoplay, it should play that cinematic when we play. Now it will spawn both buggies. So as you can see, we get the HUD and everything too, and it's really weird. And that's just because of the game mode and such. I don't see if that event played. I want to check that out. Properties, oh, the name didn't get set, so seek boom, enter, make sure that's there. So again, if we go through here and lock the camera to this viewport, that will not play as far as I'm aware, unless something changed. Nope. So when we play, however, the game, which plays our level sequence, we get that explosion. And we get our other truck too, which we can stop by deleting the player start for one. And you can go to window world settings and you can temporarily turn certain things off, like say the buggy you can set to none, the HUD you can set to none, keep the player controller and so on. Hit play, make sure it still works, and we get our sequence playing in this level. And that other buggy's still there for whatever reason, but we'll just deal with it. So that's the only way to get custom events to play at the moment that I'm aware of, and that's following the Epic Games guide. So without compositioning different sequences together, that's the best way that I know of. So once you're ready, then you can render the movie to a video or image frame sequence. Now do be aware there is a bug or feature, they're calling it kind of both. They're aware of it, but they don't know what to do with it, that it does not export audio, but you can render this movie to a video or image frame sequence, either or. We're going to choose a video sequence. We're going to do 640 by 480. And compression quality, I find 50 is the best compression. It'll be about 500 MB a minute at 50%. And it just has some stock codec. You can't choose other codecs at this time. Still very early stages, even though Sequencer is out of experimental. Anything lower doesn't seem to get lower file sizes, and higher gets to be like a couple gigs a minute. So another bug, you need to save it in a folder. If you save it just to a root drive, or if you save it to a folder that doesn't exist, it will not capture. It will go to one frame and it will just totally freeze. So I'm just gonna call this, and you'll see it gives you different keys you can throw in there, just like a build name. So it'll give the world name. I'm just gonna call this demo vid 1 cinematic mode. That'll enable all the camera effects, and you can show the HUD and stuff if you want. So hit capture movie and then save, and it'll do it. So after saving, it will render it out. It will render it at the frames rate you selected. Now, if you want audio, I find the best way is to capture your stereo mix with Audacity or something, a third-party audio program, while playing the level sequence in-game, or to use a third-party video recording program like Fraps or something. But be warned, you will only get the frame rate that your graphics card can capture. Finish. We want to open the capture folder. You will only get the frame rate that A, the engine can afford, B, that the recording software tacks on top. So you'll be recording a scene this dense and complex with even this little keyframes. You'll be getting anywhere from 15 to 25, 30 frames per second. It won't be smooth. However, this video will be perfectly smooth because it captures it frame by frame into a video. You just get no audio. So we can double click and play that back. Now it's low resolution, but there's our cuts and fades, and there's our event. Now that extra buggy's in there for whatever reason, but there you go, and our focus change. So that is that. So you can really play with it a lot. You can get some cool stuff going on. You can add a master sequence, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but that allows you to add multiple sequences into shots, just like with the camera tracks. So you can take sequences and compose them together, and you can also use a sub-scenes track to take multiple scenes and compose them together. So different ways to mix things together, all crazy like, and some very cool effects. And you can build dedicated levels. What I like to do is duplicate my game levels once I'm happy with them, once they're at least concepted in, once they're blocked in, and they're gonna be replaced with the full assets later. That's the great things, it's non-destructive. You can export this at any time, and so if I have cubes for my entire level and I record my sequence with my character, I know that 2 months down the road, once I've got my entire level laid out, I can re-export it and it'll have all my geometry with the same setups. All the track will be, all the keyframes will be there exactly as I recorded them. So I like to I like to duplicate my levels once I've got them blocked in for cinematics only when needed, and then do these level sequences that are set to autoplay. And then you can call those custom events. You can do some really cool things. If you see the sequencer demo, it's really cool. So that's all for today. I'm gonna leave this one unedited because I'm short for time, and I wanted to get some good stuff out there, some decent stuff out there on using the cuts, the different cameras, setting custom keyframes, calling events, adding audio, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this starts people getting some tutorials on YouTube and such, and some paid tutorials about using sequencer professionally to create those cool things that Epic Games did for their sequencer demo. It's a really cool tool. It's not totally finished and it's not really intuitive, but if you follow a video like this or pack games, you will get the hang of it very fast. So hopefully you guys learned something from your hour. I'm going to edit this down when I have time. So with that said, remember our motto: create your way. And see you next time.